If they're asking for material that shows your face or identifying information more than just whatever,
Yeah, don't send that.
don't send it. And let's start right at the beginning. Don't do this to begin with.
For sure.
It's a bad idea, but let's be honest. That's what
Happens all
cell
the time.
phones were created for, I guess.
Don't send the photo. You know, if you get in that situation, you've got to get advice first before you pay anything.
Want to watch a lawyer squirm? Do's and don'ts. Springs publicly ask legal advice questions on experts in their field. Roll? We're rolling. We are
go.
rolling. Welcome.
Another Friday episode.
Another Friday, Friday episode of Do's and Don'ts with Bobby and Colin.
That's right.
Yeah. We're doing this one. This one is literally ripped from the headlines, but also ripped from recent
Current
inquiries.
Yes.
regarding.
We're getting some calls.
We're getting calls, and we figured we're going to end the season with the Scammer Special PSA because we ran out of friends to ask on. And actually what happened was we kind of got busy here at the end of the year.
It is busy.
Super busy, and we didn't actually prepare ahead of time and
What do
invite
you mean
people
we?
ahead of time. Me, I did not. So I've drafted you.
That's right.
And you're a gamer as always,
I'm in.
Mr. Murphy. And so as we do on Do's and Don'ts, we get on legal Reddits and we take publicly asked absurd legal questions and
Okay.
we try to turn them into public service announcements and
Helping people out.
helping people out, just breaking things down and explaining real world issues. And the more common they are, the better. And we have one that is rampant. And we're going to roll with this one, and I'm just going to get right to it. Are you ready?
Ready?
Okay. The title of this Reddit is this a scam or am I in trouble? Sextortion, maybe?
I'm guessing scam off the bat, but let's hear it.
Yeah, well, yeah. You're probably right. You're good at identifying scams. Okay. So I met an 18-year-old girl on a dating app who told me to text her. We started texting and she started sending me nude photos. She asked me to send some back, so I did. She sent me pictures and videos of herself. Also, I noticed she deleted her dating profile. Then later on, she tells me she is almost 17. I'm 19, and it's legal age of consent in my state, so I don't think I was doing anything wrong. We keep talking, made plans, yada, yada, yada. And then, now she's texting me from her phone, but it's a man claiming to be her father, and he says that I'm going to jail for child porn. He sent me a text message, few paragraphs long. Long story short, they want money, and then that will go away. I stopped reading halfway through because I started to have a panic attack and I couldn't breathe. I just scrolled down to the end of the message and it said to call him. A lot going on there.
We see that all the time.
Mm-hmm. It is one of the most effective scams I've actually seen. Even better than iTunes gift cards.
That is pretty effective.
Yeah.
So I've heard. There's a couple of wrinkles on that. Sometimes it's a dad that follows up on the email after the photos or the videos are exchanged. Sometimes it's an investigator from some nondescript federal agency involved with child pornography or child sex trafficking. And that just amps up the anxiety in the person who's receiving that info because now they think that the federal authorities are involved, and yeah, very effective.
And the most effective ones, honestly, are the ones that target married individuals.
Yes.
And or people that are in what they would describe as positions of authority, positions of leadership, or are in employment where they will get fired if that comes out.
Yeah, there's too much to risk, and so that's what sets the hook, because you will pay large sums of money quickly to keep it quiet so that no one finds out about it.
Like the crooks in this case, in this particular case, targeting a teenager is dumb.
Yeah, because the teenagers,
They're not going to have the
unlikely
cash.
have the money.
They're not going to have the cash. Go big, go older. But you know, what's the in Iowa? What's the age of consent?
16.
And by age of consent, we mean what?
So two people, well, it depends on the age, but that would be the age where somebody could consent to sexual activity.
With anybody, any age older than them.
Correct.
It could be 16 and 80, and at 16, there is no age differential that matters.
Correct.
Correct. Now, between 16 and 17 and 364 days, what can somebody not do even with the consent of that individual?
Yeah, it starts to bring up sex abuse concerns, especially with the sharing of photos or videos. Then you're starting to talk about federal child pornography.
The simple answer I was looking for, but we didn't prep this. It's child porn.
Right.
If sexually explicit photography of somebody between the ages of 16 and 17 years and 364 days is illegal. Anybody under 18 cannot be photographed, videoed, depicted, even with their own consent.
Correct.
Engaged in sexual activity or in a sexually explicit manner, which has a whole different definition. So hard and fast rule is any photographs, any videos of somebody under the age of 18 that show body parts that you wouldn't walk down in public showing is child porn, and that's what hooks these people. That's the hook for the scam.
And the fact that it's been sent to the unknowing individual, so now they have it on their phone, and there's going to be little electronic cookie crumbs and all sorts of things for investigators to look at. Even if they deleted it, there's going to be some remnants of the file.
And if the person is asking for it, now you're solicitation, the manufacturing of child porn. Then if it's shared, that's distribution. If it's in your phone or in your account, that's possession. If you happen to share it with somebody else, that's another count of distribution. And people's heads start spinning really, really, really fast in these situations. And then what's the play from the scammers? So they set the hook. By the way, that person was underage, and no, being tricked is not a defense.
Correct.
Unfortunately, it's not. So then what do?
They can make this all go away. You can either buy their silence by paying them money, or we've seen where they won't turn it over to authorities, or you can, which there's nothing that people can do to, like, law enforcement is not going to sell you the opportunity to get out of a criminal charge.
No.
But they put it out there for the unknowing that you could essentially buy yourself out of this case.
Yep.
No police or law enforcement agency is going to do that.
But then people start transferring money
Quickly,
because they want to keep that silence. They don't know what their other alternatives are. Sometimes they will have sent compromising photos themselves, compromising videos themselves, and then there's a threat to redistribute
Yes.
those videos as well. And remind me before we end this, I have a go-to response for anybody with minor children in this situation.
Okay.
But so then they're paying. How are they paying?
So I think from the scammer's perspective, the best way would be cryptocurrency or Bitcoin.
Okay.
Because that ends up being hard to trace once that transaction is complete into some unknown wallet that the scammer controls. Very difficult to get that money back.
So I I'm not a crypto. I'm the one person in our office that is not anti-crypto. I just don't understand it enough to where I'm willing to potentially light money on fire for it. How does that work? They're scamming me. I don't have any crypto. I don't do crypto. I don't know crypto. I don't have a Coinbase account, anything like that. How did they get crypto out of a crypto-less person?
So what they would do is tell you to withdraw money from the bank or get access to cash. And then you may have seen ATMs around the community that are not affiliated with the bank. They may say Bitcoin ATM.
Okay.
There's several locally. You'll see them in small towns. So there are ways for people to purchase Bitcoin without setting up wallets on an exchange, for example.
So I just go and shove dollar bills into this Bitcoin machine and then transfer, and then do I get like Bitcoin? Does it give me coins back?
No Bitcoin back. So you're gonna deposit cash into Bitcoin ATM, and then you're going to give instructions to the Bitcoin ATM to send Bitcoin from its inventory, the company's inventory, to a wallet that you designate. The wallet that you're designating is information that has been provided from the scammer.
So can't they then track that to the scammer and say that's the scammer's wallet, and then we know who the scammer is, or no?
They can. A lot of times, those wallets will be hard to identify. It'll be difficult to find the actual person behind the wallet, and once it leaves the control of the Bitcoin ATM, once they follow your directions to send their Bitcoin to this wallet, then it's in possession of the person who owns that wallet.
And there's no way to figure out who that person is?
I think that you can probably forensically examine a number of things, but nothing that you're going to be able to do within a few hours.
Well, nothing the local PD is going to be able to do.
Right.
Huh. So this is actually a true story. This is an interesting one because I had one where they had the person that was being scammed didn't have the money to pay, or paid some and they wanted more because that's what they do. Yeah, sounds super familiar. And then that person was finally like, I don't have any, like legitimately I don't have any more money. And they said, okay, you can work for us in essence. And they coerced them and had that person create a PayPal account. And then when they would run the scams on other people, they ran the money through that PayPal account. And then when somebody called law enforcement with one of the other scams, law enforcement, all they did was pull the information on the PayPal account and then charge that poor person with this scam. And that person got arrested, he got charged, accused of sextortion. It was ugly until we were able to show, hey, here's actually what happened. But that was crazy.
So they're the go-between, instead of paying more cash, they're just facilitating.
Yep. So if we're looking at this and we break them all down into do's and don'ts, how are we going to break this one down?
I think the first thing is if you get in a situation where somebody's making this sort of claim, and maybe well, let's just stick to this, but you could see how this could arise a number of different ways. It could be a romantic interest, asking for money that's not really, has no interest in the person. This one, because it happens so frequently, I think a do and don't for this would be that if you have any question at all before you pay a dime, reach out to a lawyer. Reach out to a lawyer,
ask somebody who may know about the scams. The other thing is, let's also do this. Don't send your picture to somebody you actually have never met before. And by the way, what they do on these, they get the person that's going to be scammed to make sure their face is in the picture or their face is in a video, so that they can't be like, that ain't me. Like, I don't care if you share that ain't me. So do be aware if you're being asked by somebody you've never met in person, or even you've met them in person, if they're asking for material that shows your face or identifying information more than just whatever.
Yeah, don't send that.
Don't send it. And let's start right at the beginning. don't do this to begin with.
For sure.
It's a bad idea, but let's be honest. That's what
Happens all
cell
the time.
phones were created for, I guess.
Don't send the photo. You know, if you get in that situation, you've got to get advice first before you pay anything.
And don't pay. Flat out, don't pay.
Correct.
Because it's like paying a kidnapper. They're not gonna honor their word. They're criminals. That's why they're doing this. They're gonna keep requiring you to pay, until they bleed you dry. And then you're literally bent over a barrel.
And what people are worried about is if they don't take action, that something worse will happen.
Correct.
Most of the time, well, I mean, all the time, nothing happens.
Right.
If you just ignore them, it goes away. They just move on to the next person.
And before we end, I'm going to tease this one more time. I have a good response. But then with the Bitcoin stuff, you learned something interesting on the Bitcoin scam part of it. And what do people need to know about that?
So there have been at least 3 instances, 2 that have had reported district court rulings on. It comes up in the context of seized property, and I'll explain. And then there's one that's currently going on in Polk County, but it is a scam to get somebody to then deposit. You know, one case it was just shy of $15,000. Another case, $12,000, $13,000. Deposit that money in the Bitcoin ATM. Scammer gives instructions to have the person direct the transfer of the Bitcoin to a wallet. So once the Bitcoin leaves that inventory, goes into the wallet, very difficult to recover. But the money that's sitting in the Bitcoin ATM, the cash that you deposited into it, people will kind of come to their senses and say, maybe I shouldn't have done that. Or you know, they end up getting some advice, or they go to police or whatever. Police can seize that cash that's in the Bitcoin ATM until the Bitcoin ATM company comes and takes the money out of the ATM. It's still there, so police can get a search warrant, seize that cash. Then it becomes a question of whose money, who should that money be returned to? Should the Bitcoin ATM company keep it because after all there was a purchase made, you bought Bitcoin and had them send it, or should it go back to the person who was originally scammed? So that kind of becomes the question. I mean, who's the better party to have that money?
So the one thing, I mean, it can be preserved for the future fight.
Correct. Okay. So it would be the law enforcement agency would have it as seized property. Then the parties, the Bitcoin ATM and the person who was defrauded, they can petition the court and argue about
how to do it.
Yeah, how that money, where that money should go.
Okay, so do notify authorities and do take action if there is something that can still be done and it's quick enough.
And then you can call us after you've called the police, because we work in seized property and forfeiture cases. We can help you petition the court for the return of that money.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Final one. This is what was promised all along. Individuals, this happens with kids in high schools all the time. Between high schoolers, it can get real ugly real fast. And then what happens is people are threatened with redisclosure of images that are shared voluntarily, videos that are shared voluntarily, and then they're manipulated for future sexual interactions, or manipulated for money, or manipulated for any ways. Teenagers manipulate each other. And people struggle with what's the appropriate response.
Okay.
This is fail-safe. This is a fail-safe nugget for everybody out there to know and every parent to know. And that is the easiest way to put an end to it is a simple text back or communication back to the individual who is doing the manipulation, saying, especially if it involves what qualifies as child pornography, you have solicited, you have caused to be manufactured, and you are now in possession of child pornography because the person depicted is under the age of 18. For every person you share that with, every person you show that to, that's an additional count of distribution of child pornography. And then end it. You will see accounts disappear. There will be no more communication. That is one of the most effective responses I've come across, because people literally, last thing the people on the other side want is a federal child porn charge.
For sure.
That starts at manufacturing and distribution starts at 15 years in federal prison. Okay, and they'll know that, and if they don't, they'll look it up, and things will end very quickly. So that is a do. Do respond in an appropriate manner in a way.
Don't ignore it.
Don't ignore it, and don't pay.
Go on the offensive.
Go on the offensive. Flip it. Flip it. So that's all the time we got for this one. Do's and don'ts.
Thanks for having me.
I appreciate you filling in and covering for my lack of preparation.
Anytime.
Couldn't do it. It's all about team around here. Thanks, Colin. All right. See you guys next time.